guys, Jason here. Just really excited about this marriage conference seminar coming to you guys. I hope it's really encouraging and beneficial. I know just kind of being a part of this already, I've been encouraged. And my topic for my little session is this idea of our marriages being a friendship. And if you think the core of marriage is really about friendship, you know, all this talk about spending time, doing life together, raising kids together, buying homes together, working, going to, going fro, hurting each other, repenting, forgiving, growing old, all those things at the end of the day, at the core of that, it's about two people being really best friends with each other. Husband and wives who want their marriages to endure and to be endearing, they must be friends. A marriage that is based on friendship is enduring and it's endearing. Isn't it just true? Anywhere you go, a friend just makes things better. Like the awkward family events, just all the social things, just going to the store, all those things. It's just good to have a lifelong friend. But what happens for many of us is we forget that, don't we? And life is busy, life is hard, life is crazy, and the first thing that goes many times is cultivating the friendship in our marriage. Until the bill is due, so to speak, and we want intimacy or we want peace. But if we haven't done the groundwork of building a great friendship, we don't get those great benefits of a marriage. I read this week. This is crazy. The determining factor in whether wives feel satisfied with the sex, the romance, the passion in their marriage is by 70% the quality of the couple's friendship. And here's what's crazy. For men, it's the exact same number. So although men and women are very different, we both crave and need friendship so that we can actually be intimate and enjoy each other. Without friendship, that's just not possible. See, happy marriages are based on deep, deep friendship. And by this, I mean a mutual respect for each other and an enjoyment of our company. Couples like this that have a great friendship, they tend to know each other. They know, we all have quirks, don't we? Like they know the quirks, they look past some quirks, they indulge some quirks. For example, you know, on Sundays, you know, after Sundays, I'm just done many days, especially on like a preaching day. And I know recently I preached, it was a long Sunday, and I was coming home, and Tracy called and said, hey, we're going to my parents' house, me and the kids. And we first got married, you know, it was one of those things. Every time there's some kind of family function, we all had to go. But my wife she's learned to put up with me, so to speak, as a great friend does. And she didn't even ask if I wanted to go or needed to go. And listen, I love her parents. If y'all are watching, I love you guys. I really do. But you just get peopled out and said, just go home, take a nap, and just be for a little bit. And I was honestly, I was really touched by her level of just knowing me, caring for me, and really, what's that? That's just being a good friend, isn't it? Being a thoughtful friend. But what's interesting, and we go to like sermons on this, or books on this, or even marriage conferences on this, we don't really talk about friendship, or we ignore the verses about friendship and go right to verses on marriage. And that is right and good. But if our marriages really are based on this idea of mutual respect and friendship, we should focus on what God's word has to say about friendship. The book of Song of Solomon in chapter 5, this great love letter here, the wife says to the husband, this is my beloved. This is my friend. The core of the relationship is this friendship, the core of our marriage. So in our marriage, we made this mistake of assuming, right? It's always a problem when we assume things, that we are friends and that we are good. Instead, we invest countless hours on all kinds of people that aren't our person. You understand that? Like your spouse is your person. It's your best friend. And we spend all this other time trying to impress acquaintances instead of spending the good time, the good work of investing in our most important friendship. You know, marriage often starts off, you know, the good days when you first get married. You talk on the phone all night when you're dating, and you spend long hours holding hands and staring each other in the eyes and all those things. But it starts off with this great journey between friends. But it gets off course as friends become business partners, right? Well, you got to do your job, I got to do my job, we got to save up money to buy a house, and we're going to have kids one day, we got to get money ready for that. And then we become parents trying to raise kids. And that's a whole other challenge and a whole other discussion. And then we become caregivers trying to take care of aging parents, this new role. And then we become, as your kids get older, like a cab driver, going from one place to the next, dropping off, picking up. Maybe an Uber driver is more appropriate now. I'm not that old, I guess. And then you're event planners, trying to pull off the best birthday for your kid or the perfect holiday party or retirement party. We do all those things. And then we still want to be lovers, right? Keeping the passion hot. In the midst of all these things we're trying to do, we lose out on cultivating deep, deep friendship. And that's the key, is never forgetting that. Because here, in the end, the rest of our marriages will come together in a better way if we cultivate a deep, deep friendship. So I want to talk through for our time today just 3 things that we need to do to cultivate true friendship in our marriages. The first is intimacy. In Genesis 3, verse 24, it says this: "Therefore man shall leave his father and his mother and hold fast to his wife." When we first started the church, Luke preached on Ephesians 5 and went to this text. And this phrase has stayed with me and Tracy, of leaving and cleaving, right? That we leave our parents and our family and we cleave to one another. Ross, our counselor, said this, that once y'all become one, this team, there's going to be all these voices around you from people who love you, parents and friends and siblings and aunts and uncles. And it's fine to hear those voices. But at the end of the day, you are one and you're going to make a decision. And right here, that decision stays because you're one. So we leave our family and we cleave to each other. In verse 25, it says this. It's so powerful. "And the man and his wife were both naked and were not ashamed." They were naked and they were not ashamed. The goal in any Christian marriage is to get closer back to this pre-fall state where we could be truly unashamed with one another. There is great power in feeling safe with your spouse. We should all grow in being more open and more known, but hear this. Our spouse is our first line of defense and place to go to as far as a physical relationship in this world. That we should be known and feel safe with our spouse. But listen, many things in our world and our lives prevent this from happening. I read an interesting thing this week about this simple explanation for 3 kinds of marriages. And you might be able to relate to this. The first is a back-to-back marriage. It's one in which the couple has turned their backs on each other. Just one quick note. If you're at a place today and you're watching these videos and you feel like you're in a back-to-back marriage, you feel like you're done, just hear this. There is great hope for your marriage. There's great hope for restoration. There is nothing that God cannot forgive and restore. So my encouragement as one of your pastors and one of your friends is just don't give up. Don't stay where you're at. Let me keep going. I got to keep going. And as a result of being a back-to-back marriage, the couple lives separately and they don't work together or draw each other out in friendship. In such marriages, the partners range from strangers to enemies, but not friends. That's the back-to-back marriage. Now, there's also a shoulder-to-shoulder marriage in which the couple works together on tasks and projects such as keeping the home, raising the kids, growing the business, serving the church. It's a good step, but it's not the ultimate goal. Here's the ultimate goal is a face-to-face marriage. It's one in which, in addition to the shoulder of working together and being a team, this couple gets lots of face-to-face time for conversation, for friendship, and for intimacy. it's really helpful for us to evaluate, for us to know, to be clear on where we might be at in our marriage. Because no matter where you're at, there's still hope, but it's good to know where you're at so you can know where you're going and where you want to go. Because see, intimacy is ultimately about conversation. That we in our marriages, to really cultivate friendship, to cultivate deeper intimacy, we have to learn how to talk to each other. So how do we actually grow in intimacy? How do we grow in knowing each other? I've just got a few steps for us today, and there's some that are planned, which I think should be a planned part of your family rhythms, your marriage rhythms, but there's some that are just spontaneous, and we're all kind of wired differently, but you need both of these to have a healthy marriage. Here's the first kind of rhythm that's kind of planned. Check in daily. That sounds so obvious. Talk daily. I know for me and my wife, I'm bad about this. I guess it's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. Every day when I drive home, the first thing is I call Tracy. And I check on the day, check on the kids. I want to know how she is doing that day. And this is how we do this. How was your day? And then we listen. And it's in those little routine moments that we cultivate friendship, empathy. My biggest challenge is to be quiet during those times. To not word vomit how bad my day is, or even worse, word vomit how to fix her bad day, right? And so that's the key. Just check in daily. Second, I would encourage every couple here that's watching this, all those things, schedule a weekly meeting, and there's probably a better word than meeting, to check in with each other. To if you have some kind of maybe bigger issues or even bigger plans coming up, take the time once a week, 30 minutes to an hour, put the kids to bed, whatever you need to do, and ask two questions. Excuse me. How have you made me feel loved this week? So encourage each other. Like, how have you made me feel valued, loved, seen, known? Second question. This is a little harder, but this is intimacy, so we can be known for each other with no judgment. How have you made me feel unloved this week? What are the things, maybe the words, maybe the sighs, we all know those in our households, right? The passive-aggressive things that Jason does sometimes, all those things, just get those out there so we can cultivate honesty, openness, and a deep friendship. Third thing, see a Christian counselor. I think every couple should have, I'm not saying you have to go every single week, but we should have a Christian counselor who knows us, who knows our story, our background, who knows our quirks, who knows our tics, who knows us. And we can work through issues that prevent intimacy, that prevent us being known. Listen, you were born to sinful parents. You were raised in a sinful world and you have sin. That means you have things in your life that prevent you from intimacy. And a Christian counselor is trained to use God's word and the gospel to help you find healing so that we can be known by our spouse. And also, when you go see a counselor, it's like this intentional time where you're going to work on your marriage and being known. It's a beautiful gift. That's kind of the planned things. Now, as far as being spontaneous, being wild and crazy, here's what I encourage you to do. Look for intimate moments. Not physically, but emotionally. Sorry, guys. Emotional, spiritual, emotional, intimate moments where you need to learn your spouse. You need to learn your spouse. You need to know what their face looks like when they're having a bad day. You need to pray for their hearts and pray for your heart to be able to respond the right way in those moments when they come home and it's just been a day, or they felt this way, or there's this frustration or this anger, the kids have done this. We have to just be ready for those God moments to not fix everything, but to let them be known and to grow in intimacy and friendship. Second, so you look for these moments, and second thing, drop everything when your spouse opens up. Listen, none of us are like this, just like we're not vomiting how we feel and what we're scared of. So when those moments do come, when your spouse is at the end of their rope, when they do open up, drop, nothing's important. The dishes can wait, this can wait. Your best friend, this special moment to connect with them and encourage them, they're coming to you. So let them know that is what's most important in those moments. And as you're doing this, three things. First, be quiet. Let them just talk. I am looking at the camera, but talking to myself right now. Just be quiet. Second thing, don't fix it. Third thing, just listen. Just be a listening friend. 99% of the time, your spouse just wants to be heard, feel loved, and feel valued. And so just sit there and listen. We've heard counselors tell us, just sit in the puddle. Don't fix the puddle, put the thing over the puddle. Just sit in the puddle and be sad with your spouse. That's really hard. That's how we grow in being intimate and grow in our friendship. Second way we grow in our friendship and marriage is we have to have fun. We have to have fun. Listen, life many times is just not fun, isn't it? It's just not fun. Mondays are always there. Kids always need something. Bills are always coming. Sin is always present. There's always a pandemic, it seems like nowadays. Life many times is not fun. But our marriages should be fun. But listen, a friendship with an enjoyable spouse makes all the difference. You can go through a lot of things in this world, a lot of brokenness. But if your person, your friend, your spouse is with you, laughing at the silly things of the world, it really helps the medicine go down easier, doesn't it? Ecclesiastes says this, chapter 9. It says here, go eat your bread with joy and drink your wine with a merry heart. For God has already accepted your works. Let your garments always be white and let your head lack no oil. Live joyfully with the wife whom you love all the days of your vain life, which he has given you under the sun, all your days of vanity, for that is your portion in life, and the labor which you perform under the sun. The big idea here is life is short. God in his grace, he gave us a spouse to be great friends with and to have fun. Listen, couples that pray together and couples that play together, they stay together. And so we have to learn how to cultivate fun in our households. Listen, I pray that one day my kids, when they leave our house, that they remember a house of laughter, a house of silliness, a house of dancing, a house of rejoicing. So, steps to have some fun in your household. This may sound basic, but it's very important. Some planned ways to do this. First, plan a date night. I would encourage this to be weekly. Listen, you might not have any money at all. That's fine. Put the kids to bed and you pretend you get dressed up and go to your living room and watch a movie. Plan a date night. Whatever your thing is, me and my wife, we are so boring. What we love more than anything in the world is to go to dinner and a movie. Please don't judge us, all you fun people out there. But if we can just get away for 3 hours, eat a decent meal, and sit in the quiet and hold each other's hand and laugh together, that is bliss and that is fun. I want to do that right now, actually, but I'm here. And that's fine. That's good. We'll do it later. So first thing, plan a date night. Second thing, get away. I know it's hard. I know it's expensive. I know kids are hard. But listen, as a faith family, let's switch off kids. Let's watch kids. Let's be the family of God together, and let's get away. If you need money, ask somebody. It's that important that you learn to have fun and cultivate deep friendship in your marriage. That's kind of the planned way we do this. The spontaneous way to do this, you got to steal moments. You got to steal moments. So me and my wife, this is terrible. We went to a funeral last week. It's very sad at the funeral, but we got 3 hours in the car together. So we laughed, we sang songs, we stole those moments. And we all have after bedtime, if you have young kids, it's a great time to just steal some moments. You got to steal time when you have a chance. Second, and I like this one, just be silly. Hear this, you're not that important. Nobody watching this is the president. You're not that important. So be silly. Have fun with your family. Sing songs, be goofy, bring each other laughter. Cultivate this deep friendship. You know why? We were saved by grace. We were prisoners. Now we're set free. We have the greatest reason in the world to rejoice. Let me keep going. So we have to learn to be intimate. We have to learn to have fun. And third, we have to learn to challenge, which sounds really counterintuitive to our friendship, doesn't it? But hear this. What if God designed marriage to make us holy more than make us happy? The Apostle Paul in Colossians says this. He's praying for them. He says, so as to walk in a manner worthy of the Lord, fully pleasing to him. Hear this. Bearing fruit in every good work and increasing in the knowledge of God. One of the greatest ways that God grows us and helps us bear fruit through our marriage. And here's why. There's two kinds of challenge in a marriage. The first is the challenge that you're married to a sinner, as is your spouse. That's a challenge, being married to a sinner. It really is. And second, we in a marriage relationship, we should challenge each other to make each other better. You ever notice in Scripture, Satan didn't show up until there's a married couple. The enemy, listen, the enemy hates the fruitfulness that comes from gospel-centered marriages. Because these marriages, they're the foundation and centerpiece of the battle against the evil one. The home is where the primary training for the future of God's church takes place. So if he can get into the marriage and break that apart, it's one of the greatest battlefields we have is our marriages. Listen, the most fruitful thing I have ever done in my entire life is marrying my wife. She works harder than me. She's wiser than me. She's kinder than me, more patient than me. And those things have brought fruits. I was able to bear fruit just from her challenging me with her presence. That's true. But what's also true is that my wife is a sinner. And listen, my wife is different than me, has different plans than me. And every single day, there is this realization that we are together, and I have to, hear this, sacrifice. I have to give up my way. I have to learn to not be selfish 24 hours a day. And that is good for my soul. It is good for me to learn those things, and it produces fruit in me. And so that is how we challenge each other in our friendship, is by simply being together, speaking truth where truth is needed, but really just bearing with one another through our sin and our failures. So how do we do this? How do we challenge each other without, killing each other, right? This is very simple. I would encourage every couple here to pray together every single night. I don't know when that is for you, before bedtime, but for y'all to pray together, just ask this question: how can I pray for you? How can I pray for you? Let the natural challenge that comes up in a marriage take place. What we want is for the talking about Jesus to become normal in our homes. So the challenge of us following Jesus happens together. So just pray together. How can I pray for you? Second thing I would encourage you to do: let the little things go. Let them go. So me and my wife, how do I say this? Okay, that's how I say it. She is clean and I am neat. So my wife will see dust or something and she doesn't like that. That is not right. That's not clean. But if I don't see things that aren't in their home, is what I call this, because everything should have a home. Just so if you don't know, that's in my next talk later. It should all have a home. But here's the truth. We come together every single day. And every single day there's a choice of submission and love and sacrifice to each other we have to make that produces such great fruit. I am much less selfish now than I was 10 years ago. And I pray to God that through the challenge of my wife, that in 10 years, 20, 30, 40, 50, that I am less selfish, that God bears that fruit in my life. As we practice intimacy and fun and challenge each other, listen, our friendship will grow. We'll become closer in friendship to each other. And that's the goal, isn't it? To build a lifelong friendship with your spouse. To go to our next life with Jesus, holding the hand of our great friend in this world. For our kids to see a picture of God's love for His church through our love for each other. For our homes to be fun. For kids to see challenge, loving, patient, kind challenge in a marriage relationship to be normal and known. That it's not just a dream for some people, but it's a reality within God's church. So I just have one question for you guys as we dismiss this today that I'd love for you to discuss over whatever you're doing right now. And it's this question right here. Which area do we need to focus on? Is it intimacy? Do we have to work to be known by each other? Is it fun? Do we just not have fun together? Do we not have time to have fun together? Are we Are we too serious? Do we need to grow in having fun together? And third, do we need to challenge each other spiritually? Is there a spiritual dimension in our marriage? Am I bearing fruits from being married to this person? Am I letting go of little things? So I would encourage you, as you're at home right now, take time and discuss. Thanks, guys.